All right, everybody. Welcome back. Winning Mindset Formula. I'm Tom Tabor here with Jonathan Russian. Very pleased to introduce our next guest today, my former teammate, Kevin Foulds. Kevin, why don't
Hello,
you introduce yourself to everyone?
hello everyone. Kevin Foulds. I'm a New Jersey native. I met Tom in a postgraduate year in Massachusetts. But yeah, I played a little bit of college football, a little bit of college baseball in my life. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. We're going to go through that, I guess. And like I said, I'm excited to be here, and I'm a big fan of Tom Tabor, so I'm excited for this.
Oh yeah, Kev. Yeah, we're super pumped to have you on. So yeah, getting started. Let's talk about where you were in high school, man. You're a three-sport athlete. You're playing football, you're playing basketball, you're playing baseball. Not only that, you're actually good at all three of those sports.
Come on now.
So going into your decision for what you want to play at the next level, what made you decide initially to go with football?
I would say initially the reason why I chose football is more probably just the exposure I had with it, the recruiting process. Bigger names, where I guess we're coming from football. I mean, I'm a bigger person. I was what 6'4", 200 and like 55 pounds in high school. So I think that's the original reason why more or less I chose football. Wasn't my favorite at the time, favorite sport, probably not. But when we said when it comes down to it, what the college choices and the college recruiting, I think this is where I think my not just my heart, but my head brought me.
No, exactly. I mean, you had the perfect measurables for football, being 6'4", especially 255, there's a lot of room to grow there, wherever you end up, they're gonna throw some weight on you, which, I know when you ended up at Wagner, I know that's exactly what happened. They got you up to 300 pounds. But yeah, kinda talk me through your recruiting process for football in high school and just basically how everything went down. Like, talk to me about, you know, how you got into contact with certain schools. How'd the whole process go for you?
Yeah, so I guess I originally started maybe hearing from colleges, probably just like you, maybe the end of a little bit of end of like sophomore year, maybe like sophomore summer, maybe going into like the summer camp for junior year. I was lucky enough to have some great athletes on my team that were seeing the Division 1 level. Jake Melville, Mike Beresny. Jake ended up going to Colgate, being I believe a 3-year starter at Colgate as quarterback. Remarkable. I had an outside linebacker. I said Mike Beresny. He went to the University of New Hampshire, and even other players. A lot of Division 3 players, a lot of track athletes that I was lucky enough to get some exposure as well from those individuals. I said I was more or less getting recruited a lot by smaller Division 1 schools, a lot of FCS schools in the Northeast, mm, for the most part. And then I guess two large schools in Boston College and Temple came. I was shocked. And I guess ultimately the grades weren't good enough. And this is where I met you, Tom. I came to Worcester Academy.
Hell yeah, buddy.
So, Kevin, what position did you play?
So in high school, I was a left tackle defensive end. Like I said, and what Tom said in high school, I guess I was your larger, I guess, football player. I mean, in high school, 6'4", 255. For most high schools, is like I said, bigger individual, more an offensive tackle and like defensive end, like I was saying. And then once I got to college, I moved to center. I guess even in prep school, I was a little bit of a tackle, and then when I got to Wagner College, they moved me to center.
So
Yeah.
we kind of talked previously in our earlier episodes about going from high school into prep school. Could you kind of dive into that a little bit more? Like, what impact did that have on you mentally? Obviously, as you had to kind of delay going to play college football.
No, of course. At first, it was definitely tough. Like I was saying, I got the opportunity to play with a lot of good football players in my high school. Some even in my grade. I had my future teammate and Randy May, who went to Wagner with me, who was my roommate at Wagner. I had one of my best friends who was just actually I was just at his wedding, Jake Davis, who was an outside linebacker at Sacred Heart. So I had a bunch of good players, and when it came down to signing day, seeing some people sign that letter of intent, and going to some dinners within like the high school and hearing that they're going to one, and then it's me, and it's like Kevin Foulds going to Worcester Academy. Like everyone's questioning you, like, why Worcester Academy? Like, what is Worcester Academy? What are you doing going back to high school? It was definitely a hard situation. So I did not adapt to it pretty well. I was a little on the tough side for me. Not I wouldn't say even like just because of the jealousy side, but just because of the more or less a stepping stone and me knowing that I should have, I guess, the reason why I went to prep school was because it's my own fault with definitely grades. So that's why it was a little tougher on my end.
Yeah, no, it's very humbling. I mean, it really it's like what we talked about last episode, Jonathan, when we were talking about Colin Kaepernick. Taking a step back to get to where you want to go, like how we were talking with Kaepernick, like, hey, maybe he needs to take a step back, go to the XFL, USFL, something like that. Let's put some respect on his name again. But it's the same exact thing, with obviously I had to do it too. Kevin and I were on the same boat. It was very hard to explain to people, "Hey, why am I not going to college? Why am I going to Worcester Academy instead? Like, am I not graduating high school? Like, what are you doing?" Like, everyone's confused. You're tired of explaining the situation. There's a lot of people around you that have already signed their letter of intent. They committed to their dream schools, and it sucks because you put in, the same amount of work, if not more work, and you made it, your life goal. You made it your passion, and it's yeah, gosh, yeah, it's just very, very humbling, and it's hard. It's hard to take that step back at Worcester Academy in order to move forward.
I will say on my end, I think it was maybe a little different just because of the like geography wise with me and Tom is because up in Massachusetts where we went, and tell me if I'm wrong, there's a bunch of prep schools. That's what
Tons.
that's all where we really played was all Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire area. So tell me if I'm wrong, Tom, but before Worcester, you were already aware of like this league. You were already aware of the prep school of the postgraduate year possibility. So down by me, no one really knew what it was, and still probably doesn't really know what it is because only really prep school postgraduate down here, Blair Academy, and like it's like one of however many up in Massachusetts. There's a bunch. They're everywhere. So Tom, I'm pretty sure tell me if I'm wrong, but you were like aware of the situation of post grad and I guess like this prep league before you even went.
So I was definitely made aware my junior year of high school. I knew that there were people that looked to go to prep school. I think the main reasoning behind it I knew was mostly like because of injury. Like you got hurt your senior year, so it's like, damn, you don't have that senior tape, so you have to basically start your senior year over by going to prep school. And then I heard there's the option for people, maybe they didn't have the right grades. So what you can do at prep school is you can replace certain grades from your high school report cards or whatnot, or your transcript rather, and you can replace those grades with your grades at prep school to make you eligible, especially for if you're looking to go Division One, because Division One had higher standards in terms of eligibility, academic eligibility. And then, yeah, it's funny because like my junior year of high school, I was like, oh yeah, I'm well aware of prep school. I had prep schools looking at me when I was a junior in high school, and I was like, yeah, I am never ever going the prep school route. Absolutely not.
Exactly.
So, Kevin,
Yes.
just can you kind of elaborate on what your experience was having to go into prep school? It definitely seems like it's like a challenging situation that can definitely test your mental state, when you
Oh
like
yeah.
you said, you're when signing day comes and you're kinda in that awkward situation, you have to explain yourself, etcetera. Looking back on that, was it something that kinda built your character having to go through that experience? Was it necessary for you to go through that experience, or was it just something that you had to do based on, like maybe you weren't applying yourself as much as you should have in high school?
No, that's definitely a good question. For me personally, it was so throw it out there. I 100% went because of my grades. In high school, I used to just now the coffin was I didn't apply myself whatsoever. God bless all my teachers from high school. They're probably, if they do see this, they're probably like, "Wow, this kid in high school was just a menace." I was, I was never the smartest individual, but I was also, I don't think I was disrespectful either. But when it came down to school, I never really got an interest in school. I'm going through senior year English, and I'm learning about some crazy books, and to be honest with you, I have zero interest in learning about any of this. So why would I? My high school mindset was, why would I want to learn about this? I'm just not going to do it. So yeah, for me, it was definitely a change because going from high school, which I didn't apply myself whatsoever, to prep school, which was, like I said, 4 hours away from New Jersey. I would live there 7 days a week. I knew exactly the reason why I was there is to get my grades up and to take more courses and take SATs. So for me, it was definitely a learning curve and a maturity growth. I was like, you know what, I have to. I sort of have to become a man now. I have to take this as much as I don't want to do it. I have to do it. And like I said, this was as much as I didn't want to do it. Might have probably been the best thing that could have happened to me at that time.
That's great that you said that. Like, looking at how you came out of that experience, what do you think you gained from it? Like, was it just the maturity aspect? Like, what really formed you in prep school? Was it just like the discipline aspect, or was it the kind of like the scared feeling that you got from like knowing like, hey, if I don't get my stuff together, my dreams of playing football are gonna be washed away?
No, I think it's the second one you just said right there. I think it was more or less if I don't act, if I don't get my act up, my dreams of college football are done. I mean, they were done, but I believe the level that I was capable of playing, I think I was capable of playing the divisional level. But they said if my grades and my act didn't straighten out, then like I said, my dream of playing divisional football is gone. Like this is my last day opportunity. I have to make this opportunity work. I'm getting that second chance. So I was smart enough to realize since it's my second chance, you know what, start acting like an adult. And then, you know what, like I said, as much as you don't want to do it, you have to do it. And like I said, that's what Worcester Academy did for me. Like I said, I personally did not care for it too much. The rules
Agreed.
were a little for me. Like what we're mentioning is, like you're at that stage of the 17, 18-year old young male. You
Some
know,
of us 19,
true, very true, or 16. Alex Demond,
Alex Demond, yep.
still 16, doesn't have his license, and he's in prep school. Impressed. But like I said, you're at that that stage of going from a kid to an adult and realizing what you need to do to get to your full potential and what you really want to do with your dreams.
No, absolutely. So yeah, Worcester Academy, Jonathan, it's a second chance. A lot of these episodes we talk about second chances. We talk about a chance at redemption. That's exactly what Worcester Academy is. It was a second chance for all of us. It was a chance to show, our true colors, who we really are. And at Worcester Academy, they have the support there. Like, yeah, they maybe some of the rules are silly. You're an adult. The way you're treated's a little questionable at times, but there's a method to the madness, and they help develop a certain area of of discipline. Especially when it comes to schooling. I mean, Kevin, they stuck us in study hall
Oh,
5 days a week.
worse.
Yeah,
The
5 days a week, like 3 hours a night. You're in study hall right after practice. Right after practice, you hustle your ass to dinner, and then you're in study hall. And
For 3 hours a night?
yeah, and then, I mean, Jonathan, what are you gonna do? I mean, you're just gonna sit around, do nothing for 3 hours to make the time go by. You're gonna get your freaking schoolwork done. Like, you're gonna get your grades up because you're not gonna waste 3 hours. And, there's a monitor, so, like, they're looking, like, if you're bullshitting on YouTube or something like that, they're gonna call your ass out, and then they're gonna let your coach know. Now, don't let Tony Johnson find
Oh,
out, because Tony Johnson will chew your ass out.
Oh, exactly.
That's awesome.
No, it was definitely a learning curve when it came to, like Tom said, when it the study hall was ridiculous. I mean, it was every night. It's like when you were hoping for a nice night off, no, we're going 3 hours of study hall in the classroom with like I said, with a monitor, was going around, making sure you're not on anything crazy, making sure you're doing your work. So, as big of a pain in the ass it is, I mean, like I said, that's really, I think, what molded a lot into, getting your responsibilities straight, getting, like I said, your appropriate work done and getting your grades up, at least for me.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure. So can you tell us after prep school, kind of where you went from there and what that next chapter was?
Yeah, no, of course. So my prep school career, I guess, went a little different from other people as well. I think Tom would agree with that.
Actually, yeah, Kev, let's start with how that season actually went. And you know what I'm referring to, man, like, probably your biggest obstacle. So your grades were already, an obstacle, but this was probably the toughest obstacle that you had to overcome, and it happened, mid-season in freaking Brooklyn, New York, man. I'll remember that day forever.
Yeah. No, so yeah, it was, what are we, 4-5-0 at the time, Tom?
4-0,
4-0.
4-0.
We just got off one of the biggest wins against Suffield Academy, beat Christian Wilkins, who was a five-star recruit at Suffield Academy in Connecticut. Just a huge win. Huge win. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Tom, but the team that we had was putting Worcester Academy on them in the Northeast football.
So, yeah, Jonathan, a little, like, history lesson. Worcester Academy was awful leading up to this point. Like, the previous year, apparently they were 2-6, and I remember we had an amazing class of postgraduates, and typically in this prep league, it's the postgrads that will, like, make or break the team, and it's funny because when we first got to training camp, all of us postgrads came from winning high school programs. Like, we had all won state championships and whatnot. We're familiar with winning. Some of the, like, players who had been at Worcester Academy, they're like, "Wow, we have a really good team. We might win 3 games this year." And we're like,
3.
"The hell are you talking about? 3 games? What?" It's like, "We're gonna win them all. Are you
Oh,
kidding
yeah.
me?" So then
So they had been that bad previous to you guys showing
Terrible.
up.
they had been that bad, but dude, the first couple games, like, and it was funny because Kevin, I think you remember our first ever game against Phillips Exeter.
Phillips Exeter.
Everyone's saying like, "Oh my god, they're gonna kill us. This is the toughest team in the league." Jonathan, we beat the shit out of them. It was 35-7, and
Bad.
Kevin and I were, like, looking at each other after the game like, "Why does everyone think this team's really good?"
No, I mean, leading up to that game, I was like, you know what? I didn't know what we were gonna expect. We've had some scrimmages with like within like the last we played. What was that one school called? Kent.
Kent
Well, that was in the middle of nowhere.
in Connecticut,
I
yeah.
felt like I was in the middle of East Bumble, like Pennsylvania. Like you horse and buggy, like you haven't seen
Yep.
any people or civilians anywhere. And we beat the crap out of Kent. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't know what kind of team we have. I don't know what kind of league we have, but you know what? Everyone's talking about Phillips Exeter like it's like a legit team. So I mean, I got a little nervous. I usually don't get nervous when it comes to any sports.
I
Uh,
did too, man.
I have zero emotions when it comes to sports. You know what? If I go out there and if I get my ass kicked, I get my ass. You know what? That's the way I look at it. And when I got a little nervous from Phillips Exeter and you know what, they came out big team. I mean, Tom, if I'm wrong, they had like a big wide receiver that went to like Harvard
Yep.
with the dreads, big lineman, and like I said, like exactly what Tom said, we beat the living crap out of this team. And I'm looking at Tom afterwards. I'm like, Tom, there's no way that this is the best team we're gonna play. We just won by
Yeah.
30.
And then going into the very next week, we're playing against Christian Wilkins, against a team that hadn't lost a game in 4 years, and everyone's saying like, "Yeah, okay, this week we're gonna get our asses kicked." Dude, we beat them 20-7. We had no problems with them
Yeah.
whatsoever, and then after that game, Kevin and I are looking at each other like, "Okay, I'm pretty sure we're actually the best team in this league." Like, no
Yeah, so
doubt about it.
I never ended up asking you how that whole entire year went, Tom. Like, what was your guys' record at the end of that year?
So we finished 6-2, and Kevin is about to tell you why we finished 6-2. So going to this moment in Brooklyn, New York against Poly Prep.
Poly Prep, Brooklyn, New York. Another top prep school that we were gonna face. A known, I guess, powerhouse. Their coaches, I guess, a well-known New York coach, was like one of the most winning coaches, I guess. I don't know too well, but we heard a lot about Poly Prep. And like I said, it's one of those games that you show up and took a long bus ride. You see that the team on the other side of the field is just massive. Like, huh. I mean, we were some big guys. Jonathan, when I say massive, I'm talking about like huge.
Those dudes played in the SEC.
Yeah. They're the one guy who did hurt both of us combined was what, at least like what, I think he was listed like 6'7", like 350 in high school.
He's a big dude. Big dude.
Big dude. And
That's insane.
and when I'm saying like he was not fat, like he was just a big guy.
Lean muscle.
Yes. So like I said, so we show up, another big competition for Worcester Academy. I think we're 4-0. They're undefeated as well.
Yep.
Um, we're sticking it right to them. Like the whole game, it's like it, it's pretty much dead nuts, us versus them. And you know, like I'm pretty confident, Tom. I'm not speaking for you, but I guarantee you're pretty confident too. Going,
Very confident.
we're
Like
we're,
after
we're
the first 3 quarters, the way we were able to move them around, I was like,
yeah,
we're gonna win this game.
we're gonna win this game. And then was it the fourth quarter came? Uh,
Like 3 minutes left in the game, dude.
it was what, third or fourth and short.
So obviously, we're gonna be running it right up the gut,
Oh yeah, to whose side?
our
Me-
side.
And I won't forget. I'm not gonna mention Tom his name. I hope he sees this, but he is the reason why both this happened. But it's all right. Barrett, we love you, but at the same time, you fucked us both. But no, the play came, and you know what? A guy, the big, huge guy, fell on Tom, took out our running back. His helmet hit my knee. In one play, it took out Tom and me for the rest of the game. Like that was it. I ended up I ended up breaking my knee, like shattering my kneecap, dislocating it. I couldn't even walk anymore. And Tom broke his ankle, right? Ankle or foot?
Yeah, broke my foot. Yep.
Broke his foot. So me and Tom were crippled on the sidelines.
Well, the worst part of that whole experience for me was not even the pain. It was hearing you because you were right next to me, like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
were screaming in pain. That was the worst part of that whole experience.
Oh, it was horrible. So
Mhm.
I mean, I'm gonna, it's real quick, but my dad is always one of those. My dad goes to every game. He doesn't speak much, but after the game, he doesn't really critique me on how I do. He never really talks about any sports when it comes to me. He lets me play. You know what? If I suck, he'll be like, "Hey, Kev, you suck." Like that's all it is. Even if I do good, Kev, you suck. All right, Dad. But he always emphasized to me, he's like, if you're ever one of those professional athletes that pretends you're hurt on the field and then sprints off the field like nothing happened, you're not coming home. Just don't even think about jumping in the car. You're not coming home. Like if you're hurt on the field, you better not get up. The first thing on my mind, my knee is just like feels like it's not like attached to my body. So I'm like thinking in my mind, I'm like, if I don't try to get up and run off the field, my dad's gonna kill me. So I get up, I try to run. My first step, I go right back to like face plant in the ground. Worst pain I think I could say I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
The
It
worst
it it sounded freaking painful, man. It sounded really painful.
or the worst. But fast forward, right? Me and Tom are out of the game, tie game, and like what Tom was just mentioning, when it comes down to the prep football, it comes pretty much with the post grads. So I'm not saying that we were the entire offensive line, but me and Tom were a big part of the offensive line at that time. And for them to lose both of us in the same play, our depth in the offensive line wasn't too much at that time. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, that's correct. I mean, at the prep level, you don't really have a lot of players on your team in general. It's not like high school where you'll have, like, maybe, like, 50 plus kids.
Yeah.
Prep level, like, you're looking at maybe, like, you're lucky to have even 30 people on the whole team.
Yeah. So me and Tom go out and they
We won. We
yeah,
won.
we had 2 kids come in, they stepped up, which is great, and you know what? We ended up winning in overtime, which is absurd. Like, I don't know how we won, but like I said, I was out for the rest of the season. Even though Tony Johnson, our head coach, wanted me to come in and do a long snapping still, I think Tom remembers that.
That was insane.
Get You just snap and just run off the field. "Coach, I came and walk. How can I get off the field?" Like, and then Tom, of course, had a broken foot. He wasn't the same at all. Every single week, he wouldn't even practice any of the days in the week, and he would just play in the game because he physically couldn't walk. So, we finished the season 6-2, but I am confident that if me and Tom and, other players were at full strength,
Would have gone
I
8-0.
as I would say it was at least 7-1 because you know what? Choate was very good,
Mhm.
but, I mean, we beat every other team pretty bad, so I don't see why we couldn't have gone 8.
Exactly. Then Kev, talk to us about, you're in recovery mode. Obviously it's a devastating injury. You're only halfway into your prep year. And, you were talking about when you were in high school, you had big names like, BC and Temple looking at you.
Yeah.
After an injury like this, it tends to scare people away. So tell me what the rest of the ride was like for you in getting to signing day.
So, yeah, so for me, it was now that I guess I knew my prep football year was over. I was like, "You know what? I had to get surgery." And this is where I more or less worried about the academic side. I'm like, "Look, I can't help myself with the my skill anymore when it comes down to football. But, I can get my grades up and I can get my SATs up." So that's why I more or less focused on that. I was still a great teammate. I still went to every game, every practice, but I worried about my grades when it came to this now. And basically, a lot of the college that I was talking to just fell off the earth. I told them I was hurt, and that was pretty much it. Didn't hear from them again, except for pretty much 1 or 2 schools, and that was Wagner. I briefly talked to Wagner in high school a little bit when they came to speak to my high school teammate Randy May. So yeah, it was pretty much just Wagner. I I ended up going to an official visit. I got an offer, and like I said, it was one of those opportunities that I was still hurt. My grades were a little better. Um, I honestly at the time I liked the school, but when it came down to it, I didn't have too many opportunities in the end. Didn't have too many options, I would say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then Jonathan, a little bit of background on Wagner. So Wagner is Division One FCS. They play in the Northeast Conference. Actually, around the time they were looking at Kev, they were a very respectable pro. 2012, that came off of their best season ever. They actually started the season 0-3, ended up winning their last 8, won the conference, won the team's first ever Division One playoff game. They beat Colgate. Ended up going to Eastern Washington, one of the toughest places to play, at a place called the Red Inferno. They actually took Eastern Washington down to the wire. It ended up, you know, game came down to the fourth quarter, and they just ran out of ammunition at the end, man. Ended
Yeah,
up losing to the eventual, Eastern Washington ended up going to the semifinals that year. So I had a lot of respect for Wagner, and I I knew the coaching staff there. I knew Kev was going to be in good hands when he made that decision to go there.
yeah. So yeah, like I said, I got that offer. I went on an official visit. I was still in recovery. I still wasn't not like I think I was still on crutches when I went on my official visit. So I really
Mhm.
wasn't even in 100% yet. So that's not I went into Wagner like pretty, I guess, injured still. Not what I wanted to do. But when it came down to it, I rehabbed. I went to spring. And yeah, like I said, it was a great opportunity at the time. I loved it at first. Yeah, I mean, I personally loved Wagner at first, like I said, and knew it was good football. It was we're in the NEC playing legit teams. I couldn't say no. I couldn't say no when I was leaving Worcester Academy.
And
So what ended up happening, following you going to Wagner that made you decide to switch to baseball?
That's a good question. So I was at Wagner for a total of a year and a half. I finished the spring ball, and then I did a complete year. I played in the fall. I was one of a couple of true freshmen who actually played. I think I did pretty well. I was like the back center at the time.
The way to recover too after that devastating injury just to even be able to play your first year
Yeah.
at Wagner
I
after
definitely
an injury like that.
yeah, I definitely rushed the process back of my rehab. And like I said, I got I think I got into 6 games that year. A couple of games I got significant time. I didn't start any games, but like I said, there was I think against Columbia, Robert Morris, a couple of games I got, like I said, a significant amount of playing time, which is nice. But when it came down to it, once that next spring ball was done, something hit me. I just wasn't happy. I don't know if it was just school. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was football. I don't know exactly what it was, but I wasn't happy about Wagner. I thought about maybe going to play football somewhere else, but when it came down to it, I left football completely and I ended up playing baseball with a couple buddies from high school over at Ramapo College in New Jersey.
Then Kev,
Awesome.
early in this episode, you had mentioned that football wasn't necessarily your favorite sport, that it was basically what you were built for.
That's
Now, the
it.
sport that you ultimately wanted to play the whole time, was it actually baseball?
And that's a good question, Tom.
That's a great question.
That's a good question. Like I said, in high school, I did play all three: basketball, baseball, and football. Did I know I wanted to play baseball? No, I really didn't. Honestly, I loved playing basketball in high school. We had a bunch of good guys on the basketball team. It wasn't my best sport, but I loved it. I loved basketball. I loved everything about basketball. It was a good competitive sport for me. I'm a very competitive person.
What was your nickname in basketball?
Oh, stop. My nickname in basketball was K Love because I guess one, I look like Kevin Love, and two, my game sort of reflected Kevin Love's. Uh,
Okay. I respect that.
but that's when he was on the Timberwolves, when he was, he was good, of course. But you know what? It was that one deciding factor in life. Do you and I guess this is a good topic, is do you stay unhappy with a huge scholarship, like pretty much almost a full scholarship, or do you leave that scholarship and go and try to be happy and ultimately pay what I think I was paying like $25,000 a year for baseball. And that was a huge thing. Is it was one day I go to my parents. I'm like, hey, look, I think I'm done playing football. My mom at first was livid. She's like, no, like, you're not leaving. Like, you're leaving. You're losing $50,000 a year in your scholarship. Like, are you an idiot? Like, no, you're staying at Wagner. I'm like, Mom, to be honest with you, I'm not happy here. I'm leaving. So it took a little while for her to accept it. It was a big financial decision in my life. But like I said, it's a good question. Do you stay unhappy and get a good scholarship, or do you think that's a better route to, like, go and play a different sport, be happier, and you're end up paying a couple thousand, 20,000, 25,000 a year. So that was a big decision that I've had, and I think looking back, I think honestly I did make the right decision.
Yep.
That's awesome, Kev. That's awesome right there. Sometimes in life, in order to be happy, like, you have to make those sacrifices. You have to make the hard decisions. That's taking a huge step back, but to move forward. That was a big step moving forward, especially for your mental health, especially to get you, to where you ultimately wanted to go in life.
No, I agree.
And sometimes, you just have to make the decision that's gonna kinda reconnect you with having fun, right?
Mhm.
Like, sometimes the path that we're walking is just too for whatever reason, there's too much adversity, like, it's just not kinda filling up our cup. So, to
Yeah.
make that decision is a big thing, and I think a lot of people need to hear that. Sometimes it's okay to just you don't have to put it away forever, but sometimes you have to walk away from whatever you're currently doing and just, try something new, reconnect with yourself. So, it's great that you were able to make that decision at that time and, under those circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's when it comes down to it, I think it's a thing I think we still hear in life. I think we're in 3 different parts of the United States, all 3 of us right now. I think we all can say is that, you know what? and then you've probably seen it too, is, money doesn't really necessarily buy happiness. You can't really buy happiness with money all the time, and that was the decision I was more or less making, is like, am I happy with $50,000 a year? Or should or try something else? Do I attempt to, whatever. Did I think I was maybe is there a chance that I was gonna go to play baseball and still not be happy? Yeah, of course. But you gotta know your circumstances. You gotta know I guess, the environment you're in. And you know what? Sometimes change is the right thing for you.
No,
Absolutely.
exactly. Kev, actually, before you got on today, I ended up looking at 2 different roster photos for you.
Oh,
So the
no.
first roster photo I looked at was your Wagner College football photo.
Oh,
This is the one
oh,
after it must have been after a spring practice because your forehead was all red, and you
you
did
you
not
know
look happy whatsoever. And then I'm looking at your last season at Ramapo, your baseball picture for
yeah.
the roster, and dude, you're freaking smiling. Like
Oh, yeah.
the biggest smile I've ever seen. Like, Jonathan, I'll show you these pictures after we get off here, but you can clearly see a difference there.
No, yeah.
For sure. So, just kinda piggybacking off of that, Kevin, can you tell us, like, what was different when you went to play baseball, and how was that a more enjoyable experience, if you can kinda piece that together in your brain?
No, without a doubt. I don't know if it was so if no one knows, Ramapo College up in Malden, New Jersey is a very, very good Division III school. It's one of the most well-known Division III schools in the nation. We're always top 20, top 25. So it's not like the competition was bad. It's not like, I would go there and dominate, and, it wasn't like that. I still had to I still had to work my ass off to, even get playing time.
Conditioning, you told me, was insane. Like, you were
Absurd.
doing more conditioning than we were doing at Division I football.
Oh, it was absurd. My pitching coach, it was absurd the amount of running I did. You know what? The first practice, I honestly debated on even quitting. I'm like, wow. Thinking I'm going to Division III baseball from Division I, I'm like, this has got to be easy. As time goes, and I don't know if you know, but the the summer practices at football suck. Those they are terrible. And you know what? I was like, you know what? If I can do that, I can come and play Division III baseball. It's gonna be a cakewalk. I'm gonna have a fun time. No, um, yeah,
Never take anything lightly.
no,
It's all
no.
mindset.
Honestly, I was like, wow. I think I must have lost like 10 pounds my first practice at Ramapo playing baseball. I'm like, I think it was the first like week. We didn't even touch a baseball. I'm like, what is this? He came here to do track. I'm pretty much track athlete right now, running. That's all I do. But yeah, when it comes back to the question, I don't know exactly what made, I guess, it a more enjoyable experience. I don't know if it was the relaxed environment. I don't know if it was the people I was around, even though I love the people at Wagner. I love the people at Wagner. They're awesome, awesome people. Great. I don't know. I can't tell you the exact reason. I don't know if it was a sport. It was just, I think it was just an overall better community and a better experience for me. To be honest with you, I can't put I can't put anything exact on the reason.
Yeah, no, I can 100% relate to that too, Kev. I mean, I love the people I was playing with at UConn, but dude, when I transferred, like, my whole life changed. Like,
Yeah,
it was just a much better situation for me. I was around the right group of people, especially the coaches. The coaches made all the difference in the world.
yeah.
I finally had a coaching staff that believed in me, a coaching staff that made football enjoyable again. Basically some of the things that UConn kind of took away from me. But I mean, sometimes a change of scenery, it makes all the difference in the world.
No,
And I'm sure you do not regret your decision whatsoever. I mean, they say everything happens for a reason. And that certainly happened for a reason. You made the right change, to surround yourself with those that would make you better in life.
no, I agree. Like I said, I'll be the first person today. It's when you hear someone going from Division I to Division III, I guess it's not embarrassing, but at the same time, it's like wow, you went from Division 1, like the big old Division 1 down to Division 3. Like, oh, you played Division 3 baseball. It's sort of like a little, I don't know. I mean, I think everyone in college sports knows that. It's like, oh, like where'd you play your football? And you're like, oh, Division 3. It's like, oh, this he might not be that good, or where'd you play? UConn. It's like, holy shit. All right. You're playing legit football right now. Like, you're legit. Like Tom said, it's I think it's the environment you're around and the change that's what you need. And you know what? Sometimes they said sometimes UConn plays for people and sometimes it's not the right place for people. And that's all dependent on the kind of person you are.
I think that was a great point that you guys made, both of you, about, you can be in one environment and like the people that you're around and see the value that they're bringing, but then you can also kind of understand that, hey, you can kind of have the knowing that you want something different. And then once you actually do that and you find that other community and that's a better place for you, I just think that's a fascinating thing that can happen, right? Because sometimes, you are in a situation and you do see the value in people, but for whatever reason, it's just not the place for you and there are greener pastures out there. So I know you guys kind of explain that the best you can, but what do you guys think from being in these team environments for so long? Like what makes it an environment for you versus a place that's not? Is it the pressure? Is it the competition? Because it sounds like when you went to Ramapo, that's what it's called, right?
Yes.
Ramapo. Like you were still being challenged, right? It's not like you just went and had an easy time. So there was still some competitiveness there. So, what kind of makes a situation push you away versus what makes a situation kind of bring you in and make you feel at home?
That's a good question. I think like what Tom said too is I think the coaching staff is huge when it comes to that. And don't get me wrong, I did like the coaching staff at Wagner. Coach Wheeler was the man. He was awesome. Great guy to be around. Very he was is a player's coach. He's always on our side. He's always, joking around with us. Great guy. But when it comes down to it, when I went to Wagner, I'm sorry, when I went to Ramapo, it was such a family environment. Not that, you know what, and I'll say it still today. A lot of people say, I never wanted a coach as a friend. You never want a friend that, like I said, a coach being a friend. You don't want that. You don't want it to get too close. You don't want to take kindness for weakness. You don't want, I don't know. You still want that coaching figure in I guess your sport, whatever it is. But when I showed up at Ramapo, the first person that helped me start moving in was my head coach. At the time, it was Rich Morin. Great guy. The amount of steak dinners this guy brought you out to was insane. You would show up at his office at 4 or 5 p.m. in the afternoon and, "Hey, Kev, what do you want for dinner? Let's go to the diner. Let's go to the steakhouse." It's like, holy shit. Like, is this really what Division 3 baseball is all about? And you know what? Throw away that part of it. Having a coach, even like the Travis Zill, even the Walker Larson, Rinsky, having a coach that it just embraces you and loves you and treats you more than just a player, but treats you as like family, and they'll do whatever. Like I said, they would do whatever for you that they could. I found that in Rambo very. I found that very intriguing to me and homely. I don't know about you, Tom, but I think I
Yeah,
think
no,
I think you also had somewhat the same situation with your different coaching experiences.
no, I completely agree. From day one, when I got to EKU, they welcomed me with open arms. My offensive line coach there, Terry Heffernan, was the best coach I ever had. And Hef knew my story. He knew I was bitter. He knew how pissed off I was. He knew that I had all this fire. We just had to, apply it the right way to my game. Because obviously, I had my scholarship pulled at UConn. I was freaking pissed about that. My had a grudge against my head coach there for that, and just I was so bitter for a long time. But Hef ended up finding the right way to use that anger, and he was he was a mentor. He was definitely a mentor, not just in football, but in life. And yeah, he's the kind of guy that's he's gonna take you out to dinner and stuff like that. And then it's not just about football. It's not just about business. He wants to get to know me. So Hef pretty much knew everything about my family. He knew everything that was going on in school. When it was time for business, when it was time for football, we let that handle itself.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, those are both great stories, and thanks, Kevin, for answering that question. Uh, but from there, I think it's important to kind of call out the importance of like mentorship and seeking mentorship, having those, coaching figures in your life, especially if you're an athlete that's been through adversity. Like you guys had both been through your fair share of adversity at those points, once you finally found your home. And to have those coaches kinda take you in and value you for who you were, I'm sure that meant, like, the world to you guys, and that's gonna stick with you, wherever you go, professionally, maybe into parenthood, whatever, and I'm sure that's gonna make you guys better leaders. So, absolutely, that's crazy impactful for those coaches to have that impact on you guys.
No,
Couldn't have said it better, Jonathan. Yeah.
I was just about to say I couldn't say it better myself. It's like I think the main thing is for at least for me too to put on to that is you take a little bit, I guess, of just a little bit from each coach that you learn. I know, like, for example, like your head coach is great in this way, and then your assistant helps you in this way, you know what? And they say whether it's your coaching still in life or like you're a father or a friend, and you take each little part from each coach you've learned over the years, and you just add that to like, your resume and the way you go about things. I think that's the best thing on I don't know, um, on the way you treat things. Taking like I said, taking a little thing, a little bit from each coach that you've learned, even from growing up in Little League football. I mean, that's what at least I did.
Yep,
Turns you into the
absolutely.
ultimate father figure, turns you into the ultimate coach, turns
Yeah,
you into the ultimate manager, boss, whatever.
yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more myself.
All right, well, we're hitting that 47-minute marker. Kev, I
Uh,
guess just one last topic, man. What was your favorite meal at Worcester Academy?
Oh no! Oh, Tom, Tom, that is such a I for all you viewers, I did not expect this question. You know what we want to talk about,
I love it.
but this is the one question I had no idea that was coming. This is funny. I think I'm gonna have to do a quick shout out to our boy Barrett Lyons, and I think I'm gonna have to go with the Cuban sandwich.
The cu I was gonna say the Cuban sandwiches.
The Cuban sandwich. I wish we still had the little note that Barrett wrote to the head of the school about our Cuban sandwiches.
Just the food in general. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
but
Was
yeah,
it terrible?
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
horrible,
It was
horrible.
horrible.
I will say I don't know where she is in
Wait,
life.
wait, describe the Cuban sandwich really quick.
It wasn't even a Cuban sandwich, man. It was like a piece of soggy bread and then, like and then, like, I think the
With
meat was, like, expired,
like
and
disgust.
it was I mean, the Cuban sandwiches were probably the best food because, you would go in and it was the quickest way out, so
Oh, it was the quickest way out. I don't know, both ends. But like I said,
It sounds a little rough, man, between the Cuban sandwich and the study hall. I
but I'll tell you the
don't know.
Cuban sandwich was the worst meal ever, but it was made by the greatest person
sweetest lady ever.
Miss Sue. I don't know where she is in life. She's like 98 or maybe 100 years old. She always walked to Worcester Academy. If she's still there, God bless her soul. If she's not with us anymore, God bless her soul. But that lady was the best.
Dude, when you left, she was always asking about you, always.
Oh man, I think you too. But real quick, Miss Sue is the individual who was said she was always in the line. Like it was like a little like lunch line. And she was always like, "Wow, you're such a big growing boy. Take a little extra. Don't tell anyone. Shh." Like, I'm like, "Oh." So she gave me 2 Cuban sandwiches instead of shit myself even worse.
So I mean, dude, that's the thing. It's like, so you're in a tough environment in Worcester Academy and, there's Miss Sue, like just something as little as that can make someone's day.
Oh, yeah.
Like Miss Sue would always she would always make our day. I
Oh,
mean, just like with a little smile or, like a quick remark like that, it doesn't take a lot to make an impact on someone's life.
no,
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. But, hey, before we end this, I do have to give a couple shout outs. Of course, to Tony Johnson. I appreciate him. He's who gave, I guess, me and Tama a second chance at Worcester. I couldn't thank him more. Of course, Meg. I hope Meg sees this. You gotta get Meg on here one day, Tom.
She, you know what? Yeah, we'll have so Meg's an athletic trainer. I think that would be a pretty good guest to get on here for
She
sure.
she would be great over here. Let me tell you, John, she'd be a great guest. And then finally, I have to say Miss Moreno. I have to say she was a great physics teacher. Tom, I think we couldn't agree more.
Yeah, she was a great physics teacher, great mentor.
Great mentor. I hope she sees this as well.
I love it. I love it.
All
But
right.
I appreciate you guys having me. This is awesome. Later on, hey, maybe we'll do another episode 'cause this is great. I love being just talking to you guys. You guys are 2
No,
great.
absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
It's great to hear these stories too and be able to share. There's so much value that you guys have in these stories. So it's great to just hear them and chop it up for a little bit.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much, Kev.
Hey, you guys go have a great rest of your Wednesday night, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
Absolutely, buddy.
All right. Sounds great.
See you guys.
We'll see you.